Slavicek, and I'm with NAGC as part of their marketing and communications team. And I'm here today to welcome Donna and Roger Stranley to a little interview that'll dive deeper into their duties as Syttende royalty, as well as their Norwegian heritage. So I thought we could start off by discussing the start of it all, meaning your nomination. Can you tell me how you felt when you first learned of this exciting news?
We were told on September 17th, two women came to the house, and they are called our royal handlers. And I knew both of them personally, and the one called and said she had a knitting question. And they both showed up at the house and said that we have been asked to be the king and queen. And I didn't believe it. I mean, I thought it was a nasty joke. I didn't understand. Finally, they convinced us it was for real. And normally I'm one that cries very easily, but I was quite stoic. Finally, I leaned over and I asked him, what do you think? He goes, well, yeah. So we had to keep that secret from September 17th until February 10th last year. We couldn't tell our kids, we couldn't tell a soul. They tell you straight out that if this does get out before Syttende, you're asked to step down.
I was excited, but I was in shock or surprised, because usually it's like business people or influential people in town.
There must have been an immense amount of events you had to attend while in this role. Can you tell us about some of the things you had to do?
Sure. It was a whirlwind of a week. It started the week before Syttende on a Monday night, and that is the chamber dinner for the past king and queens. And so we were honored there. And then it was every day we were on the go from usually 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 or 6 at night. And we visited the nursing homes, the hospital, all the businesses that we could up and down Main Street. We visited everywhere we could possibly go. And a lot of places, like the library, for instance. We were the first king and queen to ever go to the Stoughton Library. And we went to the fire station, the police station. We went to Kicks Unlimited, where I broke a board with my hand. And of course, we had our bonus on through all of this. Friday night, we did the opening ceremonies for kicking off Syttende. We did the canoe race, we started that. And then the rains came Friday night. So that we were home early. Saturday, it was just being downtown, talking with everyone, up and down Main Street. We were in the Bonad show that they hold every year, and a lot are past king and queens or women that have sewn their own bonads and did all the embroidery work. And then it was back downtown again. And Sunday, of course, we finished up with being in the parade. And then after the parade on Sunday, we went directly to the community building for the Stoughton Norwegian Dancers' last performance. And then we headed out to, it used to be called Halverson's, but the girls at On Sugar and Spice have it now. And we had a party for our friends, our family, past king and queens, the mayor, anybody that we wanted to invite. So we had a meal and a celebration out there, and that was the end. We did have one more obligation. I think it was in July, where we meet. They always go over to Mount Horeb and meet with their Sons of Norway over there. So this is the bonad that I chose. It's called the Marie Owen, but it's the region that my mother is from, which is the Tranås region. It does have the embroidered purse, and the back is totally embroidered. This is the skirt that goes with it, with the plaid apron. And then it does have the embroidery along the bottom. When we were in Norway 2016, we went to the Bunad store, and I don't know how to pronounce the hoofs or something. Anyways, and his cousin's wife, I said, I want to see the Bunad, where my mother's from. And so she showed it to me, and I knew right away, if I ever got a Bunad, that would be the one I wanted. These are the pins that I wore. This is an antique pin that I got from my sister-in-law, Betty. And then this pin here I wore below it, and it was from our trip to Norway. I bought this one. Fun fact about the little purse that goes with your bunad, you really can't carry much in them, but we were told that the woman always carries a spoon with her so that she always has something for her sweets. And then the other thing that I wore on my bunad was this replica of a key. And this was to be that she always had a key to get into her home, that she was never, without a place to sleep. Okay, Roger's bunad is just kind of considered a general bunad for in Norway. We had trouble finding one that we liked that was from the region his family's from. His vest is a lot like the Stoughton Norwegian dancers, so that's one of the reasons we chose it. Beside it had the green trim like is on my bunad. And then here's the formal coat that goes over it. He does have a pocket watch that he wears with it. And of course he has the short knickers and wool socks with red and green and white ribbon that goes down the sides of his legs. We were both happy. I also have a cape that goes with mine, and Syttende is often very cold and rainy, so we prepared for the cold weather, and we had a beautiful weather, this year, so we didn't have to wear these heavy things. But that's Roger's bunad.
So I read that the guidelines state to become Syttende royalty, it's not required to be part of the Norwegian descent. But if I'm correct, you guys do have Norwegian heritage as well as relatives currently living in Norway, right?
Correct. Both of us are full-blooded Norwegian. We were lucky enough to, his sister got in contact with a cousin of theirs in Norway, and they came and seen us in 2014, and we went over and seen them in 2016. And at that time, we learned a lot about Norwegian life is a lot different than ours. And we were able to travel to his family homestead and the land where my mother's family was from. And they're not all that far apart. My mother's in Tranås. I have pictures. It's hard to see of Roger's homestead, and it does fly a flag, and it is Strandli on it. The ironic thing is they spell Strandli Strandli. We found 4 or 5 different spellings of Strandli, and they're all related. They just chose to spell it differently. This is Roger and his cousin Morton at the homestead. New people have bought it, so we hadn't gone real close. But go ahead.
The name Strandli means house on
Hill on the beach.
hill on the beach. And it would have been my great grandfather. This is Lake Mersa, and he loaded and unloaded ships that would come up from Oslo up the river and go up farther. And
Lake Mersa is the largest lake in Norway, and we're not pronouncing it correctly, but
that's what the house looks like now.
we have a replica of the house that was Oh, that was just.
And their roundabouts over there, they'll tell you which lane you have to be in to take your certain turn. And we've seen a roundabout with 8 roundabouts in it. Like this one or Smithstead, where her side of the family is from, her mother's side, tells you have to be in ring 3. But it's just very confusing.
It was fascinating to go, back to his homestead, his family's homestead, and see it and that. There used to be an old gentleman that lived there that was a direct descendant of the Stranleys. And when he was living there, he would invite you down and you would have coffee and everything else with him, but he had passed away and these new owners took over. My mom's family, they found where it was, but right now it's nothing but a field. And in fact, when we were up there, we picked cloudberries. Here's a picture of what cloudberries look like. And they remind you of a cross between a raspberry and something citrusy. They only grow in the mountains. They are only grown a certain time of year. We happen to find a few. And they are delicious. They are really, and they usually serve them over ice cream. Ice cream is a big thing in Norway. In Oslo, we were quite surprised. You can go to Pizza Hut there. You can go to McDonald's, Ruby Tuesdays, you name it. They had all the fast food restaurants that we have here. But they all have outdoor seating with a big blanket type thing over the back of the chairs. And they will sit out there in the dead of winter and have drinks and eat.
That's interesting.
But every one of them had these chairs and they all had a big cozy throw. Another interesting thing, we wanted to take them out to dinner. And it took them all afternoon calling around to find a place because the turnover is so great over there. It might be there one day and the next day it's closed and the following day it's a new restaurant. Mm-hmm. We sat down and I said, well, should we have a cocktail? And he looked at me and he said, absolutely not. And I said, why? He said, because the fine in Norway is so expensive and you lose your license for life. They do not fool around.
Really?
And then I started noticing there was a group of young people there that had come in just to have cocktails. And the waiter stood right there with his hand out and they all handed over their keys. And if they drove there, mm-hmm. and then they would have to pay for a taxi to go home. They would not let them have their keys back.
That's interesting.
Another interesting fact about Norway is if you throw a piece of paper, gum wrap or whatever on the ground, somebody will come up to you and tell you to pick that up. It's the cleanest area I've ever seen. There's no cigarette butts, no gum wrappers, no paper, no gum, no nothing.
No. I mean, it'll be a resident of Norway, they'll come up and tell you.
Really?
Yeah, they don't mess around.
Sounds right.
I don't know.
Oh, for pollution over there. In downtown Oslo, they had the old smokestack because they can't bury the garbage, it's all rock and stone. So they burn it. But they put a new system in. And when we were there for 10 days, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I said to the Morton we were staying with, I said, how come there's never any smoke coming out of that smokestack? Because it was cool out. He said that air that comes out of that smokestack, he said that's where we burn our garbage. The air that comes out of that smokestack is cleaner than the air we're breathing right here, outside. And the heat that they get from it, that's how they distribute their hot water in Oslo. So they're getting rid of the garbage, but they're also giving all the towns and houses and stuff around a great big area with hot water.
Yeah, supplies all of the downtown and surrounding areas. The other thing really cool was their recycling. They are so ahead of the United States in this stuff. Barrett, Morton's wife, had 4 little waste baskets lined up in her dining room and a separate one in her kitchen. And I said, what's this about? And she said that they have the recycle police, and they can come to your house any given time, whenever they want, at least once a year, and check to make sure you're recycling. Come back. But they can be fined $1,000 if they don't recycle properly. Then when you go to the grocery store, you take your plastic soda bottles, and the plastic that can be recycled, and there's a machine outside. You put it in there, it grinds it up, it spits out a receipt, and that you can spend in the grocery store then. It's like cash to you. And everybody does it. You do pay a deposit when you buy your plastic bottles of soda or whatever, but you get back more than that when you've recycled it.
I'd like to thank you both for being here today and telling us your story of being Syttende My royalty, as well as some of your heritage. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Nope. We really enjoy being king and queen. We wish we could be it forever. Our reign is over on February 5th. The next one is chosen. Yeah. I happen to be on the cultural committee. They asked me to this year. So I do know who the king and queen is, and I can't tell a soul.
She didn't even tell me because I told her not to.